From the NewsTalkSTL studios in St. Louis, it's the Right Mind Show with Todd Schowalter. On tonight's episode, recapping the election with Rich Rubino, Cameron Moore, and the Right Mind studio band, Mitch Murphy and the Murphy Tones. Now, putting the fun in your dysfunctional world, here's your host, Todd Schowalter.
Boy, oh boy, I am still just bouncing off the walls. It's like Christmas morning came and it hasn't left. Can you tell how giddy and excited I am?
Yeah, there's stains all over your pants, all over your shirt. You haven't showered in days.
Oh my gosh, I can't believe it. And here's the craziest thing, okay? For a while there, I thought I won, okay? Because I keep getting, I was getting text, I was getting like emails, congratulations. And I turned to my wife, who I can't mention on the show, and I said, did I actually win?
Treasurer-elect Todd Schowalter.
Yeah, I was actually written in for that. It was actually Todd America. But I kept getting all these congratulatory messages, and I thought I was the one that won, when actually it was Donald Trump, who I'm even more happy won because, he can actually do some good. What did you end up doing that night?
Did you hear me on the radio? I said during
did.
the Big Boy show, I wrote in Todd Schowalter for every single opening. They shouldn't leave it right in because bad things will happen.
No.
And I think that actually gets written down somewhere in an official book, and you can buy it like when you name a star after someone. It's just a big scam, but they post the write-in results somewhere.
I think I did. Like I said, I think I'm now like the alderman for Overland in the 2nd Ward, something like that. And in some place I've never been before. But I think I did win something. But I'll have to. And if they ask me to show up for work, I'm just going to say I'm working with you that day. If that's
Slight
right.
recap. You voted early, waited in line an hour and a half, got into a fight with one of our old high school buddies who also has a job at a different radio station.
Right.
You had way more stories than me. I walked in, 0-second wait.
Well, that's what I heard.
I voted Election Day in the city,
right.
And it was just in and out. It was very efficient, and it was a great day. It was raining, though, so some people got flooded out.
Sure they
in
did.
Eureka, they had one polling station where the roads were flooded and people couldn't get to that polling station.
Really?
It was a
Did they take a boat?
There were boats waiting by, just like
Get
Disney
outta
World
here.
when you get there to the Magic Kingdom. See,
I had the wait. I told you on Tuesday it was a 90-minute wait, so that was kind of like the Magic Kingdom because that's all I remember about Disney World.
Waiting in lines.
You're waiting in lines all day long. Well, that's the thing about that, though, because I kept getting those kind of texts, too, like, well, I got here and I only had to wait 5 minutes. It's like, I was like, that's nice. And then I'd get another one. Well, I got here and I walked right in. Okay, I get the point. And it's like, well, you waited like 90 minutes, didn't you? Yep, I did. It's like, well, I only had to wait 30 seconds. Okay, I get it. And I got like 10 of these. Like, what am I supposed to do? Was it a contest?
Were they even handing out flyers for your show to become an advertiser? Because that's the point of waiting in line for 90 minutes is the people you meet along the way.
Oh, I met a lot of people when I was there, that's for sure. And then I said, when it got to be a little awkward, you ever start talking to somebody and, it's just to be nice because you're there with them for 90 minutes. But then it gets to the point where you really don't want to talk to this person anymore, but they don't know how to stop. And that's when I say, hey, I think it's time for us to spoon.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever done that?
Hey, let's have a shirt-off hug so we can really embrace the moment and let our hearts touch skin to skin. They call that tummy time in the parent world. Yeah, a little tummy time, get to know and bond with your fellow voters.
Well, I was so excited. I didn't know what could possibly top it. But what happens? I come in here today. You're here, and that always is the highlight. But then what did we just do, Joey?
Well, I came in with no idea for what our picture of the week should be. I was looking around at the grass like, should we roll around and make mud angels because it's been raining all week?
I'll do it.
And then I saw the cherry picker outside. And I jokingly but very seriously been eyeing up this cherry picker for the past couple of weeks. Our building is under total reconstruction. I'm telling you, they're gentrifying us. They're putting a Whole Foods in the bathroom next door.
Yes.
And they're going to raise our rent. They're painting the building white.
Why are they doing that?
It was brown before. I don't know what that means.
They're painting bricks white. It just seems like it's just like kind of like busy work.
They're going to raise our rent in 3 years when our lease is up. And so we're going to have fun while we can. Yeah. I've been, stealing all of the the bright yellow shirts that the construction guys wear.
Yeah, those are. And those look wonderful on you, by the way.
Thank you very much. It's very hard to hide once you steal something like that.
No, it's kind of like you escape from a prison. But that's okay. Tell the story.
But it looks like I can do something with my hands, ladies.
Yeah, baby.
So there's this giant cherry picker right outside. And
now explain what a cherry picker is, though.
I mean, that's what you use to get the apples out of the trees. You get a cherry picker.
I know.
Well, this is a bigger one.
Bigger.
It goes above and beyond. We were in the clouds.
Way up. I can't whistle. Go ahead.
We walked up to our friend with a bright yellow shirt and said, hey, can we get in your cherry picker?
That's what we did.
And he said, all right, I'll take you to
Can
the
you
sky, baby,
believe
to
it?
the moon, Alice.
And I'm just so used to people saying, get out of here, don't bother me. It's a union job. I'm taking my time doing what I'm doing. But he was actually very nice. And then so we get in it, and he goes, and I was excited. He goes, oh, yeah.
We were on the ground.
I know.
He
goes, oh, you haven't seen anything yet. You're going way up. And I'm terrified of heights. And like I said, once we are way up in the air, I'm not afraid of heights. I'm afraid of falling from heights, okay? Because that big splat, like you said, and I just don't like that.
And we were so safe. We had all of our harnesses on, so we had nothing to be scared of, but it does jostle you a little bit.
Yeah, it does.
When the little elbow of the cherry picker starts to change direction.
Yeah.
Because we were directly under a tree. We actually could have had our skulls crushed in if he hadn't thought to rotate us 45 degrees.
I was doing that.
What a professional.
I was wondering, I said, now, if this were to collapse and I were to fall out, would it be like a slow death or would it be just quick? Were you thinking about that?
I was just too happy to take
I
a
was
selfie.
happy, too.
Selfies are more important than death. People at Grand Canyon die all the time doing what they love, backing
been us.
up into a big hole while they take a picture.
Well, it's even better because I think Channel 4 is right up the street. I bet you they would have come out and that would have been breaking news that two guys from the radio show are dead in the parking lot. Wouldn't that be? That would have been great for the ratings here, don't you think?
We are news partners with them. They actually provide us with all our weather, and we take clips from them to replay on the show. So that would have really saved them an afternoon if the guys that they're partnered with, they're just like, hey, can you send us the footage of that grisly death so we don't have to come and get it?
Exactly. We have a couple of dead bodies in the parking lot. And by the way, there's an Alberta Clipper coming in through the Northwest. You're right. It would have been perfect. It would have saved everybody time.
Thank you, Steve Templeton.
Yeah, well, we ought to suggest that next time if they're having some problems with the ratings. No, I'm not going to do that. But I am afraid of heights. Here's the thing about this election. I'm just going to get this out of the way.
Wait, we got to say hi to our friend that took us up. What was his name?
Clay. Clay is his name. And I remember is Clay because I thought we could actually be part of the clay below us, and that's how I remembered his name.
If we fell out of the picker, we would have become Clay. So thank you, Clay, for keeping us safe.
Yeah, I tell you what, that was a good time.
Couldn't remember the name of his company for $1 million. It was like paint pickers.
Is something with that. It was very complicated.
Lead liquors.
Was it Amazon?
No,
it wasn't. Was it Schnucks? No, it wasn't.
Look for guys with yellow shirts painting buildings, and it's probably him.
And he did a great job. And if you don't like the way he paints, he'll let you take you way up in the sky with his equipment.
I bet if it's Park Catapult too, like Trebuchet. Like if he hits one button, it's just you're out there on the highway.
Yeah. And then Ethan comes out, our sales
guy,
and he says, "I wonder what that thing could do on the highway." I'm like, "Get out of here, Ethan. What do you mean can it do on? You'd hit one of those overpasses and then you'd fly out
like a wrestling maneuver, just clothesline right there. You go ass over elbows. Wait, high heels over neck, something like that.
Yeah, I like that. Well, here's what I was going back to the election.
Back to the election.
Here, okay. I was so happy, and I am still happy. But then I got to thinking because it's been such a. In some ways, let me try to put this right. I'm kind of happy about Joe Biden in the last 4 years because if we hadn't let them just totally destroy everything and make a mess of it, we would never have realized how corrupt and imbeciles, what morons they are. And now we know, Joey. Do you understand where I'm going with this? If we hadn't let that happen, let this horrible time period of just utter disaster and moronic behavior go on, I mean, we wouldn't know, and I don't think we'll let that happen again.
I did this thing that is kind of embarrassing. I don't know if I should even say this into a microphone.
No, I think you should.
We, at the station, had a live election coverage soiree extravaganza, and I didn't know how long it was going to be, but I set up the video stream for everyone, and then I left.
Right.
Turns out it was 6 hours long, this thing. Tony Colombo, Vic Porcelli were anchoring the live coverage all night. They were about to wrap up at, I think, 11:30 or something.
Sure.
And then the Pennsylvania election results came in, and they just changed their whole attitude. They opened up shop again. Vic was dancing after having...
Wait.
He had green apple splatters all night until Pennsylvania came in. Changed the whole man's attitude. And I had no idea about any of this. I decided to just wait all night and not pay attention at all. I went and watched movies. I didn't care about the election results because I knew they weren't going to come in for weeks maybe.
Well, what movie
did you hear about Nevada and was it Arizona? They were going to take 13 days for them.
They don't even have any. I think they're going to come out with their results probably, I don't know, next April. What movie did you watch?
Well, I decided to keep it on theme, so I went home and I watched The American President. I've never seen it. It's a rom-com from 1995.
Michael Douglas.
Martin Sheen, Annette Bening, Michael J. Fox. Great Scott! Michael
Great
J.
God, did
And
he
it's-
shake in that one?
No, it was pre-shakes.
Oh, okay.
But it was written by Aaron Sorkin, who writes so much dialogue.
Oh, very clippy,
might-
very clippy, yeah.
You may have to shake just trying to remember all of
Yeah.
it. And I thought, it's still election theme, but I'll be able to take my mind off of it. But the movie, it was like my real life still.
Why?
It was crazy because Annette Bening, she
Yeah.
goes and she meets the president, embarrasses herself, and just says this exact clip. Let's listen real quick.
Okay.
I'm hanging up now, Richard. Tonight I was going to go to bed early and wake up when there's a new president.
That was my exact plan. I was just going to go to bed early and wake up when there's a new president.
Now
so I
that
don't have
sounded
to think.
like Cams. That sounded like Kamala Harris. Well, wait a minute. Play that again, can you? I think this is Cams.
I'm hanging up now, Richard. Tonight I was going to go to bed early and wake up when there's a new president.
That has to be Cams.
That was their concession speech, I guess, the night of at Howard.
I think that was that. Are you sure you weren't listening to Cams? That was Annette Bening. Mm-hmm. She does imitations.
I think so. Did you hear what she did at her watch party? Howard University, historically black university.
Right.
She graduated there in like the 80s or something.
Yeah, sure.
And the watch party is not for anyone that goes to Howard. They actually canceled all the classes.
Right.
They put up fences, borders, if you will, so no one could get in.
Borders.
And the kids that go to Howard that wanted to watch the watch party were just sitting on the other side of the fence, just looking through and crying because they weren't invited. And also,
Please, Father.
I think their prodigal mother wasn't winning what they thought they would win.
And she just, from what I heard,
And didn't make a speech.
she said, "I'm not giving a speech," and she told everybody to go home. She just said, "Go
I'm
home."
hanging up now, Richard. Tonight I was going to go to bed early and wake up when there's a new president.
It's her.
That was
it. That was Well, that makes a lot of sense. And I bet you they had a lot of refreshments and everything that went to waste.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, can you imagine that? I just think that's like talk about cherry picking. That's like sour grapes. I mean, I think that was just that's just. But okay. So you watched the American. Was it good?
It was very good, very romantic. And then I thought, well, that's just a one-off. There's no way this movie will also reflect my life once again at the 1 hour and 13-minute mark.
Did
and
it?
then, oh my gosh, wait for this clip right here.
Excuse me, Mr. President. I just got off the phone with the federal mediator in St. Louis. Management just walked away from the table. The baggage handlers, pilots, and flight attendants are all getting set to walk out in 48 hours.
Oh. You know, I studied under a Nobel Prize-winning economist, and you know what he taught me?
Never have an airline strike at Christmas?
I'm going to St. Louis.
Wow. It's like.
Hello.
Hi, what are you doing?
Just trying on dresses.
Listen, I feel terrible, but I'm going to have to cancel our date tonight.
Another woman?
Got to go to St. Louis to avert a massive airline strike.
Oh my.
Boy, if I had a nickel for every time I heard that one.
Oh, wait a minute. So Kamala Harris is talking to Michael Douglas about an airplane strike at Christmas Eve while she's giving her concession speech to Howard University where they locked all the kids out. And you had this all on tape.
It's wild. And, this actually reminds us of how good the economy used to be as well. Because
That's right.
He's going to St. Louis where TWA had their hub.
Oh.
TWA left St. Louis a while ago. This movie was made in 1995, and it just reminded me of how important St. Louis used to be. But I guess under Democrat control, things have gone a little
How do
weird,
you
a little
wrap your
topsy-turvy.
head around all of this? It's just like I'm flummoxed in the brain. Wow. So you had a heck of a night, didn't you?
And then it turns out Michael Douglas won re-election.
So he's our president
He's
now?
our president.
I thought Trump won.
Or Martin Sheen. Wait, was this The West Wing? I don't know. It's like a prequel
Why
to The
are
West
those
Wing.
two always the president? You ever notice that? Because he was the president on the West Wing.
Aaron Sorkin.
So is that why?
He decides who the president is.
So Aaron Sorkin got to decide who our president is, but I bet you he didn't decide who Trump. He didn't pick Trump. I know that because all those Hollywood people are up in arms.
He's very much a left-winger type of guy. He's a Democrat, Aaron
Right.
Sorkin.
Yeah,
Very
yeah.
upset that Trump won.
Well, here's the thing. All these celebrities are all upset. I don't care. I really don't care. And the thing is, why is it all these elite, people with all this money and fame and stuff like that, kind of like us, but we're different because we're conservative and we have a good head on our shoulders. Back to the story. So anyway, why in the heck do we even care what these silly celebrities think? I mean, I know people like the whole Taylor Swift thing. Well, Taylor's going to, endorse Biden. So what? We're all supposed to follow that dimwit and do what she does? Why do people care?
What was the popular vote difference? Was it 7 million? I think more voted
lot.
for. I think it was 7 to 9 million more
Yeah.
voted for Trump. So it's still very tight, but
Yeah.
it's kind of more legitimate because he's got the popular vote there too. And
Yeah.
it seems like the celebrity thing didn't really work
It
out.
didn't
She
work.
had a lot of celebrities that came on stage with her.
I think it's because that Diddy Diddler oil guy was endorsing cams.
I don't think he had time to endorse anybody, but okay.
I know. I think that had something to do with it, because I think you can have negative endorsements as well as positive. Not saying any of them are positive, in my opinion, but I think that was part of the problem too, and the fact that she's just kind of stupid. But anyway, I'm glad that we're going to be living in a safer world, aren't you?
Well, I have no idea if I'm safer now. I mean, I had that harness on when we were up on that cherry picker, so that's all I know is I was very safe up in that thing.
I'd like to wear a harness for more things. I mean, have you thought about that?
Radio gets rough and tumble sometimes.
I felt safe. You know, I felt just like, wow, I can do anything with this harness on. You know, I mean, can you imagine if you would say I bet you if you and I put a harness on and walked out in the middle of Highway 270, nothing would happen. Maybe we should do that for our next picture. Anyway, it was a heck of a night. Like I said, I did not sleep and again, I'm one of these guys, you know, if I don't get my whatever I sleep, I don't know, 6 hours, whatever. If I'm missing just like a few minutes, the whole day is shot. I mean, I can't do anything. I mean, I'm just might as well go back to bed, even though I can't because I don't have the time. But if the day is blown. But I stayed up all night. I dozed off. Didn't really even when I dozed off for like a few minutes, I wasn't really asleep. I got no sleep for over 24 hours, and I just had adrenaline pumping through my body. I was like, I didn't want to sleep. I didn't want to wake up and find out it was all a dream.
I had saw that the markets rallied as soon as the election results started coming in, and I specifically saw the stocks for Charmin toilet paper and maybe NyQuil. Like both sides were very nervous.
Yeah.
A lot of diarrhea going on, a lot of I can't go to bed right now.
Right.
So I think if you had invested heavily in Charmin the night before, you'd be a billionaire by now.
I don't know, but we have a big show.
Back to the election.
You know, who's coming on? We got our favorite correspondent, the Right Mind official political analyst, Rich Rubino, is going to be on. He's going to break this whole thing down. It's going to be a great time. We've got Mitch in the background with his big patriotic number he's going to be doing. It's going to be a great day. It's been a great week. In the meantime, I'm Todd Schowalter, along with my bestest buddy, Joey V. You're listening to The Right Mind Show. We'll be right back.
Coming up next on The Right Mind Show with Todd Schowalter, political trivia savant Rich Rubino.
Are you like me and you like great books? Well, I found a place that has a lot of great books. A traditional publisher right up in Macon County, Deep Read Press. DeepReadPress.com, that's the website to find out exactly what they have. And again, they got traditional books. They are a traditional publisher. Deep Read Press does a lot of things that I particularly like, and most of them has to do with great books. So if you're looking for a publisher to publish, or if you're just looking for a place to find a lot of great books, it's Deep Read Press at DeepReadPress.com.
Welcome back to The Right Mind Show with Todd Schowalter on NewsTalkSTL. And now a man who had to call the doctor on Tuesday night after his election lasted longer than 4 hours. Todd Schowalter.
And we're back. I'm Todd Schowalter, along with my buddy Joey V. And on the line now is the official Right Mind political analyst, correspondent, you name it, he's done it, Rich, the man, Rubino. How's it going? Boy, you have been busy during this election cycle, haven't you?
It's been quite an election season, absolutely.
Well, I'm going to jump right into it. I mean, I don't know about you, but I have not slept. I feel like it's Christmas morning 24/7. What is your take on everything that happened with our big night on Tuesday?
Well, I think that it was unexpected that it would be a relatively decisive victory for Donald Trump. He really did better, or rather, Kamala Harris did worse than Joe Biden in pretty much every state. I didn't expect it. I thought it would be a lot closer. I thought it would be about the 7 swing states. I thought maybe one candidate would win 4 or 5, the other would win 2 or 3. But Donald Trump ended up winning all 7 of the swing states relatively decisively. And I think obviously there were a lot of people that a lot of the polls were, I think, wrong. The polls were showing it to be a lot more closer than it actually was. And you saw that one shock poll a few days before the election showing Iowa, where Trump had won by about 10 points last time, showing that he was actually losing in Iowa. I was wondering how accurate that apparently was, and apparently that was just an outlier. So Donald Trump did a lot better than expected. I think in the United States Senate, it did about what I thought they were going to do. I did think the Democrats were probably going to take that seat in Ohio, and I thought that they had somewhat of an outside chance of winning the state of Montana. And in the House of Representatives, I thought that the Democrats would overwhelmingly win just because there were so many congressional districts of Democrats representing Trump districts that Trump won last time. But in the House of Representatives, it looks like at least what it appears right now, it looks like the Republicans will maintain all three branches of government.
I was going to ask you. Okay, I was going to lead to that because here we tape on Thursday, the show airs on Saturday. As of right now, we don't know who's got the House of Representatives. You think that could actually happen?
It could absolutely. There are certainly a lot of outstanding seats right now. And we're certainly looking. I think that right now it would obviously be a hindrance for Donald Trump if the Democrats do take control, because in order to get his legislative agenda passed, that means he'd have to work in a bipartisan way. He'd have to work and try to get Democrats to vote for some of his proposals. Some of his proposals, like, for example, trade agreements, where he's more of an economic nationalist. I think there are a lot of Democrats that would agree with that. And I think his proposal to put tariffs, for example, some Democrats ran political campaign ads. Think of like Gerald Golden in Maine, for example, or Robert Casey, the senator from Pennsylvania, although he seems to have lost that election. But there have been Democrats who ran ads talking about how they agree with Donald Trump on some issues like trade. There he would try to get some bipartisan support. But obviously, if you have all three branches of government, all you have to do is really get your entire party in line. I will say, though, in the United States Senate, they have what's called the filibuster. So you really need 60 votes, not 50 votes, to get legislation passed. But they could first vote on reconciliation, which basically means they could get something done with just 50 votes. And if that's the case, then they can do that, and they can leave with a couple of senators. If there are some Republicans that are potentially recalcitrant to the agenda, that could go the other way, and they could still get something passed. But this was obviously a very positive day for Donald Trump and the Republican Party.
What would you compare it to? To me, it had it seemed similar to '84 with Reagan, and I didn't expect that. I mean, obviously back then, he won everything except what was it, Minnesota or something. But I didn't think that with the swing states and everything going his way. I mean, what would you do? Would you compare it to that, or do you think otherwise?
No, I don't think it. That was a huge landslide. When Ronald Reagan's landslide, he literally won 49 states and got about 59% of the popular vote. So this wasn't anything like that.
Would you consider it a landslide, though?
I would say in the Electoral College, it was a landslide. In the popular vote, it was not. It's not like 10, 8, 9, 10 points. It was still, at least popular vote-wise, it was relatively close. In the Electoral College, I would say that it certainly was a landslide, and I did not expect him to win all 7 of the swing states. I thought I could see a scenario where maybe he would win 5 or something to that effect, but I thought particularly some of those blue wall states, I think, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, and Michigan, I thought that that Vice President Harris was going to at least pick up perhaps Michigan and Wisconsin, and then Pennsylvania I thought would be very close. And the fact that she did not choose Governor Shapiro, I'm sure not that would have made that much of a difference at all. But I think if she did choose him, the sitting governor of Pennsylvania, relatively popular, that they would have had a lot better chance at winning Pennsylvania. The other thing that was interesting is Minnesota, Governor Walz's home state, where he's a sitting governor. She only won by about 4 points. So you could make the argument maybe if he wasn't on the ticket, she would have lost Minnesota. But Minnesota was very much, I think, too close for comfort, as was other states like New Jersey.
Along with that, I mean, what were some of the other other races? What were some of the other bigger surprises that you thought there were?
I think in the United States Senate, I think the fact that Sherrod Brown, who's basically been a survivor, he was first elected in 2006, got reelected in 2012, 2018. I thought he was going to survive because I think he's relatively popular in the state of Ohio, even though he's certainly to the left of the ideology of the state. But I didn't see a scenario where he was necessarily going to lose. I think Senator Casey in Pennsylvania, I thought that just because he had the power of the incumbency, and because I thought that Mr. McCormick, the Republican nominee, was probably to the right of the constituency in Pennsylvania, I thought that Casey was certainly the favorite there. So those are really the 2 states where I think that really kind of surprised me a little bit. And then you have other scenarios like the fact that Wisconsin is so close, with Tammy Baldwin running for re-election. Tammy Baldwin is somebody who I thought was going to win relatively decisively this time around. And if you go to the House of Representatives, some of the Democrats who represented districts that voted for Donald Trump, like Congressman Cartwright from Pennsylvania, for example, ended up losing, and then others like Jared Golden, who represents the district in northern Maine. This is a district that went about 8 points for Donald Trump. He was somebody who was able to survive by getting Republican votes and advertising himself as somebody who was independent from the national political party. So there have been some surprises, but I think that I don't think very few people expected that Trump would get as big of a victory as he had, and that the United States Senate would, so many of the seats that were in play would fall in line, with some exceptions like Michigan.
Well, how do you think that plays in the long term? Because one of the things that Donald Trump said during his speech was that, this has all been part of a movement. And I think he has successfully, and there's even some of the biased media said, like him or not, he has changed the Republican Party, which he definitely, which he has. And I think you go back now to the Democrats. Now they're doing some internal finger pointing, say, hey, we kind of blew this. I mean, do you think they went just so far left and goofy that they're going to come more towards the middle now?
No, I think actually Vice President Harris moved to the middle from where she was in 2019. When she was running and she was trying to get the Democratic nomination, you had Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders for a candidate she was running against. She tried to move to the left. She said she would be in favor of banning fracking, for example, which is very popular in a state like Pennsylvania. She said she supported Medicare for all, which would have basically eliminated, for all intents and purposes, private health insurance. This time around, she basically disavowed those previous positions. She never really gave an answer as to what it was that changed her positions on that. But she tried to run to the center, and I think that she also had Republicans that would campaign with her, whether it was Congresswoman Cheney or former Congresswoman Cheney, former Congressman Adam Kinzinger from Illinois. They would all go around with her, and they would try to campaign, and she was trying to position herself as being to the center. So I don't think that's something that's necessarily going to hurt her. I do think, though, that what part of the reason they lost was that Joe Biden, I think, would have been a lot more wise, and certainly his place in history, if he were to not have decided. If he were to say, imagine if he had said a year ago that I have too many responsibilities as president of the United States, so accordingly I can't spend my time campaigning for president. And then there would have been a Democratic primary, and then Vice President Harris would have really had to be battle tested. And if she won that Democratic primary, she would have had a very battle tested, and she would have probably done better in the general election. And if they had nominated somebody else, maybe that other candidate would have been a lot more skillful in the general election. But that's something that historically people are going to be looking at this election are going to say that Joe Biden really kind of blew it, in the sense that he waited so long. First of all, that he was in the race, and that the Democratic Party did not have a major primary challenger. Dean Phillips was the only one who really challenged him. But then when Joe Biden, when he finally did drop out, the nomination was basically given to Vice President Harris with no real primary challenge, and she proved that she was certainly not the best candidate in the general election. But that being said, she did relatively well in the one debate that they had with Donald Trump. She might have even won that debate, but she certainly was not. She certainly was very vague in her proposals. She would talk about what she wanted to do, but she very rarely, except for maybe that Fox interview with Bret Baier, she very rarely was interviewed by an adversarial member of the press, and she really didn't do any press conferences. And I think that really kind of hurt her. But I think this is an election that theoretically that they could have won. But that being said, a couple things. First of all, it's extremely hard for an incumbent vice president to win. George H.W. Bush to win the presidency. George H.W. Bush did it in 1988. He was the first vice president to be elected president since Martin Van Buren in 1836. That's how long it was. And secondly, when you have a position where you have a job approval of a president that's well under 50%, it's very hard for that party to maintain that control of the House of the presidency. If you have a president that's 60%, 65%, you should be holding on to the presidency. If you're under 50%, then from a historical perspective, you should be losing that race. And I think Vice President Harris fell victim to that.
What do you think? You mentioned, going back to Biden and legacy and things like that. What do you think his long-term overall legacy will be?
A couple of things. I think that he'll be remembered for the president who was in power when at the end of the COVID epidemic, and that's something that he's going to be remembered for. I think legislatively, getting legislation passed like the Chips and Sciences Act, like the PACT Act, and getting it passed in a Congress which was very much divided. So he really had no room for error. He had to do some reconciliation. He had to get every Democrat, and usually he would get just about everybody that he could get to vote for him, to vote with him, except for Joe Manchin sometimes. Getting the Inflation Reduction Act passed, getting prescription drugs prices lowered, and getting insulin lowered. Those are things that I think would be positive for his legacy. And the other side of that, I think the fact that he was not able to rid the country of inflation, the fact that he lost re-election, at least his party lost re-election, that generally does not bode well for a president in history. If we try to think about one-term presidents that are viewed as successful in history, you can think of a few. James K. Polk would come to mind. But generally speaking, they're usually forgotten, and very rarely do members of their party try to run, 2, 4, 6 years later and say, I want to be part of the Biden legacy. But I think that the Inflation Reduction Act, and I think that getting the PACT Act, getting infrastructure, those types of legislation, that stuff is going to be part of his legacy, and that's what he's going to be remembered for domestically. But my guess is, though, that Democrats, and certainly when he comes to the 2026 midterm elections, the 2028 presidential election, I think very few Democrats are going to try to say that they want to run as a Biden Democrat. They're going to be trying to position themselves as independent, or they're going to try to position themselves as kind of a new ideology. And to that respect, that does not bode well, certainly for Joe Biden's legacy.
Yeah, well, looking even ahead, I mean, we just came off this election, and it's looking far, far ahead. But do you think there's anybody out there on the horizon that may be an up-and-comer? And we got Gavin Newsom, but now they're even talking about Shapiro, who was overlooked by Cams. I mean, do you think there's anybody that's a front runner right now, possibly on the Democrat side for 28?
Yeah, and I think Shapiro actually not being chosen by Vice President Harris probably does bode well for him, because he can make the argument that had he been on the ticket, potentially the ticket would have been a lot better, and maybe they could have carried Pennsylvania, because he is relatively popular. You wonder for him, the strategy. The question is, will he run for re-election in 2026? He could do. If he's thinking about running for president, maybe he'll do what Mitt Romney did in Massachusetts in 2006 and just not run for re-election and focus all of your time on running for president, because it's very hard to run for president when you have a divided legislature in Pennsylvania and you have to also be the governor of a large state like that. So he might be better off just to focus completely on running for president. I think other folks who might be looking at, I think Governor Cooper, the outgoing governor of North Carolina, Democrats like witness Jimmy Carter and Bill Clinton tend to do very well when they nominate Southern governors or former Southern governors as presidential candidates. So he's somebody that might be considered. I don't think Tim Walz is going to be a presidential candidate. I think my guess is he'll probably serve out his term as governor, but I think that a lot of people are going to blame him for not really adding much to the ticket for Vice President Harris this time around. So my guess is he probably won't be. I think Pete Buttigieg got a couple of prospects. One of them is that he could run for president. The other, and he suggested that he might run for governor of Michigan in 2026. And he may say, isn't he from Indiana? Well, him and his husband have since moved to Michigan, and that's where they live right now. But it'll be very hard, I think, to run for governor of a state that you really just moved to and try to make the argument that you really know kind of the intricacies, if you will, of the policies in Michigan. And others would be Raphael Warnock and John Ossoff, two senators from Georgia, who won last time around, who won those two races in 2020. I think one of those two, I think Raphael Warnock is somebody who's very charismatic, who really could be a very formidable candidate. My guess with Gavin Newsom is that it would be hard for him, if he wins the nomination, not to be seen as a San Francisco liberal, and Republicans would love to pounce just on the fact that he's from San Francisco and really kind of go after him because of that. They really went after Vice President Harris. For the Democrats, usually the Democrats do better when they nominate someone who does not represent the coast, or if they do come from a coastal state, that it's a conservative state like Jimmy Carter in Georgia. When you come from a place like San Francisco, it's very easy for the Republicans to pounce on the candidate as kind of an out-of-touch liberal.
Okay, well, getting to the real important stuff now. We do know that the holidays are coming up, and I do have to tell you, well, I guess I got to break it to you. I know that you did send one of your books, the political trivia book by Rich Rubino. You sent one to my dad for Christmas. Rich, I got to tell you, he nonstop. He kept asking me, "Can I please open my present? Can I please open my present?" I said, "Yeah, Dad, you got to wait until Christmas. All right, you got to wait." I finally. I caved. I broke down, as you saw from the photo. I said, "Okay, you can open it." And you saw in that photo just the joy of Christmas in my father's face holding your book.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah, I mean, he was over, and that's all he's talked about. He's quizzing me on all these things, and I did read it, but not as closely as him. With as much joy as it brought my dad, how can other people get that book? Because I think you could be like, the highlight of Christmas to a lot of people. How can they get it, Rich?
Oh, yes, absolutely. And I categorically think that you should order 6-7 of them.
Yeah.
If you just go to Amazon.com and you type in Rich Rubino, that's Rubino, or if you type in richrubino.com, that's my website. And there's a link there to the Amazon page, and there's about 5 books there. And the latest one is the Great American Political Trivia Challenge, political trivia on steroids. And I think that you will be extremely happy with it.
Oh, seriously. Now, he said to me, I think there was like a tear in his eye. He said, Todd, he said, "You have finally made me happy." And I didn't know what to do with that, but I said, I'll take what I can get. So thanks to you, I'm finally have my father's approval. Life is better. We have a new Trump guy coming in who I like. I mean, thank you, Rich. You really made everybody's Christmas this year.
Yes, absolutely. I guess that's what I'm here on the earth is to make everybody happy.
And you did a dang good job of it, my friend. Thank you so much. Okay?
Thank you so much. I greatly enjoyed coming on.
All right. Well, we'll do it again before the end of the year, I promise, whether you want to or not.
Let's do it. Absolutely.
Okay, buddy. Take care. All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Did you see that photo did I show you the photo of my dad?
No.
Oh my gosh, let me just pull it up on my phone here. I mean I've never seen the joy, the utter joy on his face with this photo. And now I'm going to have to dig it out here and find it. But where is it? Where's Rich here? Okay, here we go. Look at the joy on my dad's face holding the Rich Rubino Political Challenge book. I mean, he was giddy. It was like he even wore his Christmas sweater.
Now, does it take you 3 hours to read that book? Because your dad is dressed up like Gilligan, and it seems like he's having a 3-hour tour,
He does. My dad looks like Gilligan.
He needs a little coffee filter hat on his head, and
that's
he'd be
all
the
he
spitting
well,
image.
I think the book is as big as he is. Did you notice this? The book is huge, by the way. I swear, bringing back my midget friends, even if you have illiterate midgets, they could buy the book just to sit on as a booster seat because the thing is so dang big. But no, he insisted that I open it right away. Rich, he signed it he inscribed it to my dad, and he says now, you've let me down in so many ways, but I'm finally happy with you, and I accept you now.
I'll sign something and you give it to your dad. You pick something, anything out of the radio station. This chair that we just love so much.
Yeah.
One of these microphones. These are like $250 microphones. Maybe take one.
But you think so? Is that okay?
Yeah, I don't mind. I'll even sign it in black Sharpie so your dad can't even read it on this black chair.
I could maybe toss salad with it or something.
Oh, disgusting.
Yeah,
well,
whatever.
Let me tell you, I have some presidential political trivia.
Oh, do tell.
And this involves you, actually.
Oh, wonderful.
Now, you made a cartoon pretty recently that showed Barack Obama talking to Bert and Ernie. Because you're saying that Barack Obama was the puppet master.
Which he was.
Of the Biden administration, and he was seeing if Bert and Ernie wanted to run as president in the next election.
Yeah.
Well, did you know we've actually had a Muppet as president before?
Get out of here.
And he's actually served 2 terms also non-consecutively. So Trump, he's 45 and 47.
Right.
Grover, he was also a
Grover?
president. 22 and 24, Grover. So we have had a Muppet president before. I don't know if you knew that.
So what's going to happen to my cartoon? Is that like plagiarism? You think I'm going to get in trouble?
Nostradamus, but for the past, You predicted the past, and I think that is its own superpower.
Hey, I tell you what. I'll be Ernie, okay? And for the rest of the show, hi, Bert.
Bottle caps.
Yeah, I like this. This is good.
Get in your own bed. Why are you always crowding me with this spooning situation?
So you want to be a soccer player, Mr. Ernie?
No, it's swayed off into Scottish territory.
Sorry about that. Well, when we come back, we'll have more to do. But hey, in the meantime, I'm Todd Schowalter, along with my bestest buddy, Joey V. You're listening to The Right Mind Show. We'll be right back.
Coming up next on The Right Mind Show with Todd Schowalter, Cameron Moore on what it was like being at Mar-a-Lago on election night.
Oh, Figgy Fizz. Mwah. Oh, boy.
Yeah, well, sure has been an exciting day, hasn't it?
Welcome back to the Right Mind Show with Todd Schowalter on NewsTalkSTL. And now a man who went looking for the Electoral College but got lost driving the wrong way on the road to 270, Todd Schowalter.
And we're back on Todd Schowalter, along my buddy Joe Avey. And on the line now is Cameron Moore. He's the founder of the nonprofit American Heroes Association, among other things. How's it going, Cameron?
Going pretty amazing after this week. Big victory.
Are
you?
Thanks
for having me on.
Are you as excited as it's felt like Christmas morning, like perpetually, like every minute of the day. I mean, I just can't get, and I haven't slept. I mean, I don't want to go to sleep and wake up and find out it was all a good dream, I should say. I mean,
yeah.
Are you as excited as I am?
I am. I was there. I was over there at Mar-a-Lago.
Were you?
Yes, I was with Mar-a-Lago, Elon Musk, Dana White, RFK, and then the voting started to slow down, just like in 2020. And then President left about midnight. He was there maybe 9 to midnight, and then he headed over to the convention center. And then as a guest of Mar-a-Lago, they gave us special access passes to go over to the convention center. This was probably 12:30 at night.
Yeah.
And then we ended up over there at the convention center, which was unbelievable. I was right up front and witnessed history with Trump coming out with his family, sending a positive message to the American people. And I actually attended with a guy named Peter Tickton, who was President Trump's classmate from military school, former attorney that worked on the Hillary Clinton RICO case, and one of his best friends. So it was a special moment for everyone, special night. Didn't get home till about 4 a.m, but it was worth every bit to be part of that.
Well, just watching it. I mean, just watching it at home. And it was almost like I was joking with my wife because, when he has everybody up there talking, I go, this is like they'd won Best Picture, like the Academy Awards speech, although it wasn't a bunch of woke liberals. But I mean, it was all that you could just tell the vibe. I mean, was it just excitement everywhere? At what point did they kind of know? Because if you're watching the networks, okay, they would, especially CBS, and you flip around, they wouldn't just say, Fox would already say, all right, he's won such and such state. What point did you all know, with actually being there, that, we pretty much had this thing?
Well, it started off earlier tonight. Trump had a significant lead. We're like, okay, this is going to go pretty smoothly. But then they pulled their regular shenanigans. They pull later on, start slowing down the votes, and we're still counting here. And then they called California with 17% of the votes in, which I found very curious. And so there were some interesting abnormalities happening, and then it pretty much came to like a slow stop at Mar-a-Lago, and everyone headed over to the convention center. I arrived just in time for when they called Pennsylvania, which the whole crowd just blew up at that point. It was so super exciting. And then we needed 4 more electors to pull off the election. I forgot what state was the final state to.
Well, you had Pennsylvania, you had Wisconsin. Yeah, I mean, so that's what we were watching, and it was. Yeah. I got to tell you, I mean, I don't know what kind of sports fan you are, but I mean, I've it was like the Super Bowls of and everything coming together, and plus it was just a relief. I mean, I felt like my God, this horrible storm may be over. Well, it sounds like an exciting time, but let's get back to you. There's a lot of stuff that you do. I mean, you're the founder of the nonprofit American Heroes Association. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so I went all in with my association maybe about 4 years ago. I work in K-12 education, and I provide classroom technology products into K-12 schools, which is predominantly liberal, especially where I'm, raised in California. And so I kind of got forced out because of my political views of the company that I still own. I hired a CEO to replace me. And then once I started seeing the attacks, during President Trump in 2016, I noticed something was off, and I kind of went all in. And then I went to go see our president speak at the Ellipse on January 6th. Didn't go to the Capitol, but then I had a fun cat and mouse game for a long time with the FBI. After that, with not being within a couple of miles of the Capitol.
Really?
And they came to my house, came to my vacation home, came to my office, put me on the domestic terrorist list.
Just for being there? You were
nowhere near the Capitol. not within 2.5 miles.
And was it because it was you? Or, are they do that anybody that was in the proximity?
I was one of the few. I think I posted a video that my friend had sent me from the Capitol, and that's what sent them off. And they originally called me, and I said, I don't want to talk to you guys. I know I'm not going to talk to you guys. And I said, you got to tell me what it's about. And they finally said the Capitol, and I said I wasn't within 2.5 miles. And I said, just go check my room service bill. I'm over at the St. Regis. Check my room service bill. There you go. And then they went through hell and $12,000 for legal bills later. And then they finally checked my room service bill and cleared me. So, but it just shows the weaponization of our justice system in our 3-letter agencies. But so then I went all in. I make creative videos. My partner Matt Struck, who's touring with General Flynn. He does a lot of video work for General Flynn. We started creating inspirational videos. Our first one was called Heroes. It was shared by President Trump, and I was able to speak with President Trump that night about the video, which was a really special moment. And then over the past this year, President Trump has shared about 6 of our videos. Some of them are inspiring. Some of them have underlying tones to them and meanings, which a lot of people will get. And so that's a big part of what I'm doing, and help raise awareness for people that don't have a voice. I made a documentary for a girl who lost her father in a government overreach in Utah, where she lost her life after the FBI, or he lost his life after the FBI raided their house. Mm-hmm. And just some horrible stories that these stories need to be back and brought up front. I was just out speaking at an event a couple of weeks ago. No, this was last week out in California, and this is the kind of interesting things that happened to me. By the way, it was pretty small. It was about 80 people, and then someone approached me from Mel Gibson's team after, and
Mel Gibson. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we'd like to have the family come out and meet the family and Mel's team, and they have a private church in Agora, which I went out to, and then they told me about this 100-year-old World War II veteran who was a big Trump supporter and very lucid and loves to talk and wants to have a story told. So I'm like, oh my gosh, I need to extend my stay and go visit this guy. So I flew my video guy out from Colorado, and then I stayed an extra day in California. I'm in Florida now, by the way. Mm-hmm. And we documented this guy's story. He's 100 years old, and his passion for Trump was it's over the top. He's the last remaining survivor of the USS Sailfish, who was the last remaining survivor of the Battle of Formosa, where he saved 10 pilots in the water. And he just has an incredible story, and highly decorated. But his love for President Trump was off the charts. So I went out there, we created a video inside 24 hours, put it out, probably got close to 1 million views or more on it. And I'm doing things like this. And so what I'm working on right now is a project for Tina Peters. Do you know much about Tina Peters and her story?
No, I don't.
Tina Peters was in charge of her elections. She was the county clerk for Mesa County, Colorado, and she noticed some problems with her election, and so she made a backup image of the machine, which happened to be Dominion, and then she's a Gold Star mother. Let's start off with that. Her Navy SEAL son died.
Mm-hmm.
Navy SEAL Team 6 son died, and then they started coming after her. 69 years old. They made her sign off. Her husband, who had Parkinson's, signed some paper that he didn't want to sign, and the state took him over. It's a horrible story. The state took him over, and so she lost her husband, and she wasn't able to visit him. And then the state went after her for protecting the elections, and they put this 69-year-old lady just for protecting the elections in jail for 9 years.
Wow!
For taking an image of the hard drive. And so Colorado is riddled with election fraud right now. I don't know if you noticed.
Well, they were the one that went to the Democrats, and so I mean, yeah. I mean, so that doesn't surprise me. Yeah.
So we're talking. So I've been having video visitations with Tina, communicating with her in jail, and the country now it's becoming national news. Steve Bannon's talking about it. Others are talking about it because we need to get this poor lady out of jail. They made her the sacrificial lamb. Don't mess with our elections, or this is what's going to happen to you. So we're working hard to get her out, and I'm building a documentary for her right now through my foundation that's going to raise awareness for how our court systems and our justice systems can be weaponized, and why we need Trump back in office, because he's the only one standing between us and them.
Well, before we cut out here, is there anything you would like, if people want to get in touch with you or know more about American Heroes Association, how can they go about doing that?
Yeah. My website is usheroes.us, and I'm very active on Instagram, and my Instagram handle is Cameron, Cameron, my middle initial R, my last name Moore, Moore 1, Cameron R Moore 1, and that's on Instagram, and it's Cameron R Moore at Truth Social.
Okay, well, it's been fun. I got to tell you, I hope you'll come back and talk with us again, because you certainly get me, going here, and there's a lot more that we can talk about. And here's to better times ahead, my friend.
Yes, thank you for the opportunity. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Cameron. Take care now. Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye.
Well, that was something. He was actually at Mar-a-Lago. I didn't realize I knew he was coming on the show, but had I known that, I would have asked him beforehand if he could have just talked to us from there.
Yeah, live election night results. That would have been incredible.
And you probably wouldn't even gone home and watched a movie, because I could have said, "Hey, Joey, we got Cameron reporting live from Mar-a-Lago." Yeah, you still would have gone home and watched a movie, I bet.
Mm-hmm.
Tell you what, it's going to do it for us. Hey, and like I always say on the Right Mind Show, if you don't have a right mind, you don't have a mind at all. Till next time, I'm with my bestest buddy, Joey V. This is Todd Schowalter, and this was The Right Mind Show. Till next time, bye-bye.
Thanks for tuning in to The Right Mind Show with Todd Schowalter. To find out about all things Todd, go to StudioTodd.com. We will see you next Saturday night at 5 p.m. right here on 101.9, 94.1 News Talk STL, and always streaming online at NewsTalkSTL.com.